One day, Prophet Muhammad was resting in the house of his maternal aunt in Medina. Suddenly, he woke up and was smiling. His aunt, Haram, asked, "O Messenger of Allah, why are you smiling?" The Prophet replied, "At this very moment, I was shown a vision of my ummah. Some of them were going on expeditions across the seas, seated like kings on their thrones." Hearing this, his aunt Haram said, "O Messenger of Allah, pray that I too may be among that army." The Prophet replied, "You will surely be among them." After the time of the Prophet, during the rule of Caliph Umar the Muslims had already become the greatest superpower in the world. Their armies had expanded to the east and the west. But the Muslims still had one great weakness: the sea. The Roman Empire repeatedly attacked Muslims through the seas, because until then, the Muslims had no navy of their own. That is why, during the time of Caliph Umar one of his governors, Muawiyah wrote to him saying that the time had come for the Muslims to build a powerful navy. But Caliph Umar absolutely refused. For over 700 years the Romans had ruled the seas, and they possessed the world's largest navy, 1,000 warships, which is why the entire sea was called the Roman Sea. In comparison, the Muslims were desert dwellers with no experience in naval warfare. But when Umar passed away and Uthman became the new caliph, he appointed Muawiyah who had previously been governor of a small province, as governor of the entire region of Syria. Once again Muawiyah wrote to Caliph Uthman requesting permission to build a navy. But Uthman replied, "When Umar forbade you from building a navy, I was standing right beside him." Meaning, even now, you do not have permission. Yet Muawiyah continued to request repeatedly. In one of his letters he even wrote, "Cyprus under the Roman Empire is so close to us that we can almost hear the dogs barking there." Of course, this was only an expression. The sound of dogs could not actually travel that far. Finally, after persistent requests, Caliph Uthman granted Muawiyah permission to attack Cyprus. But Uthman gave one strict condition: if you believe fighting at sea is so easy, then all of you generals must take your wives with you. Muawiyah accepted this condition and ordered the creation of the First Islamic Navy. But there was a problem. The Muslims had no knowledge of building large warships. So how did they finally manage? Many years earlier, before the Muslims had conquered these lands, the Romans had built two massive shipyards in Palestine and Egypt to construct warships for their navy. These ships were called dromons, and they were so large that 300 soldiers could board one at a time. When the Muslims conquered these territories, these shipyards also came into their control. At first, they were of no use. But now, under the orders of Caliph Uthman the shipyards were reopened. Muawiyah brought Christian engineers and instructed them, "From now on, build ships not for the Romans but for us." And thus, the First Islamic Navy began to take shape. As soon as the ships were ready, Muawiyah and his generals, taking their wives along as Caliph Uthman had ordered, set out to conquer Cyprus. Interestingly, among the wives of the generals was Haram the same woman who had once told the Prophet, "Pray that I may be among that army." And the Prophet had told her, "You will surely be among them." When the Muslim army reached Cyprus, the people surrendered without resistance. This was the very first victory of the Islamic Navy. But soon after, Haram fell from her horse and was martyred. To this day, her grave remains in Cyprus and is known in Turkish as Hala Sultan. For the next 4 years, Cyprus remained under Muslim control. Later, as the Muslim navy grew larger, Muawiyah took the fleet even further and advanced straight toward the Roman capital, Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. It is said that the Muslims came so close that they could see the fortress of the Roman emperor with their own eyes, and the emperor, Constans, could see the Muslim army. The Muslims were ready to attack, for they knew the famous hadith, "The first army of my ummah to attack the city of the Caesar will enter paradise." But just as Muawiyah prepared to advance, news came that a rebellion had broken out in Cyprus. Muawiyah immediately turned back with his army, without attacking the Roman capital, and reconquered Cyprus. However, the Roman emperor, shocked by how close the Muslims had come to his capital, decided to finally show the true power of the Roman navy. With 500 massive dromons, he set out to crush the Muslims. Day and night, his ships sped toward Cyprus. But when they arrived, to their surprise, 200 Muslim ships were already waiting. The Caliph had already been informed of the Roman Emperor's attack, and Uthman R.A. ordered both the governor of Syria, Muawiyah R.A., and the governor of Egypt, Abdullah ibn Saud R.A., to intercept the Romans with their entire fleets.
Together, these two commandants confronted the Romans with 200 ships. Since Abdullah ibn R.A. had more ships, he was the overall commandant. As the two navies came face to face, there was a major problem. The winds were blowing against the Muslims, pushing their ships backward. If the battle began in this condition, the Roman navy would easily crush them. To counter this, the Muslim generals ordered all anchors to be thrown, fixing the ships in place. Then a message was sent to the Roman emperor: "It is better we fight on land than at sea." The emperor laughed at this and asked his men what they thought. The Roman soldiers shouted with confidence, knowing that no one could defeat the Muslims on land, but on the sea only the Romans ruled. So the emperor replied mockingly, "The battle will be at sea, at sea." As the Romans mocked the Muslims, suddenly the winds shifted. The Muslim soldiers cheered, opened their sails, and their 200 warships surged forward at full speed. Seeing this sudden change, the Roman emperor panicked. He recalled a dream he had seen a few days earlier. When he had told it to his astrologers, they said, "O emperor, if only you had not slept that night. For this dream has only one meaning: defeat." As the Muslim ships closed in, they had already tied their ships together to keep them steady in battle. This gave them an advantage. Their arrows struck true, while the rocking Roman ships often missed. The battle that followed was so fierce that it is remembered as the of the seas, the greatest naval battle of that time. The Muslims even tied their ships to the Roman vessels, turning the middle of the sea into a massive battlefield. As the fight raged, a storm broke out with thunder and heavy waves. Still, the Muslims pressed on. At one point, the Romans launched a powerful assault on the Muslim commandant Abdullah ibn R.A., capturing his ship and dragging it away to kill him, hoping to break Muslim morale. He was wounded, but a brave Muslim risked his life, caught the rope between the ships, saved the commandant, and fell into the sea as a martyr. Inspired by this, the Muslims attacked with even greater force, sinking Roman ships one after another. The Romans lost nearly all 500 of their warships. The emperor, realizing all was lost, disguised himself as a soldier, removed his crown, and fled for his life. Thus, in the era of Caliph R.A., the Muslims won the of the seas. The Roman Empire was broken, its emperor wounded, and its 700-year-old dominance over the seas completely shattered. Yet, R.A. knew that conquering the Roman capital was still impossible. Instead, he made a new grand plan. He sent a letter and a map to his governors, outlining the future of Islam. First, the Muslims would conquer Spain, then France, then Italy, then Greece, and finally, after controlling all of Europe, they would attack the Roman capital. But this plan was never fulfilled. Before it could begin, Caliph R.A. was martyred by a faction within the Muslims themselves. Still, before his martyrdom, Caliph R.A. had already destroyed the Roman navy that had ruled the seas for 700 years. Subscribe.